Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. We got a special Monday afternoon edition, a special Behind Enemy Lines edition. I'm excited to introduce Devoted to Detroit. You may know him on Twitter and X as @Devoted, the number 2 DET. You can see that below in the banner. But Devoted, welcome to TED Talks Ball. And how are you doing? It's, I guess, a victory Monday for both of us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you for having me on. So glad to, discuss this NFC Championship game matchup here coming up.
Yeah, fired up. Obviously a chance for either team to go to the Super Bowl, which for the Detroit Lions would be first time ever, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're in a lot of unfamiliar territory right now. So yeah,
that's true. I guess it's the first time to the NFC Championship game as well.
Yep. So I'm 23 years old. So this is the first time we have even won any playoff games in my entire life. So it's pretty exciting time to be a Lions fan.
No doubt about it. There's a lot to be excited about for both teams, but especially any team that's, in uncharted territory. The 49ers have obviously been here to the NFC Championship 3 times in the last 4 years. So we're a little bit jaded. We're a little bit kind of used to it. We're kind of like, hey, Super Bowl or bust. But we can't overlook the Lions, really solid team. And we can get into all that here in just a second. Let's real quick say hi to folks we've got here in the audience. We had some people that were a little bit early stopping by. We got Don't Bother Me. His name is Steven. He says a win is a win despite all the mistakes. Lions week. Yeah, the Niners made a lot of mistakes against the Green Bay Packers for sure. There were times where I thought we were going to lose the game. I won't lie and say anything different. I was very nervous, and we managed to pull it out. And I won't necessarily say the better team lost, like some people are saying, because the Packers played better in the first half and we played better in the second half, and so especially at the end when it really matters. But real quick, let's see what else. Steven also said, win is a win no matter how ugly. Oh, okay, let's go. We just added a little bit to that. We've got Red Jet Shell. She's a member of the channel, and she's a great audience member. She says, hi, chat. Welcome, Shell. She says, hope everyone's recovered. Hell of a game. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us, I heard Joe Shasky say on the radio this morning, a couple of things I said on the timeline. We won by the skin of our teeth. And we both woke up on Sunday morning wondering how the heck those 49ers had pulled that game off. Because, like I said, there were times where I was pretty sure that we weren't going to be able to make it happen. They're saying hi to one another. Got James Durnall coming to us from across the pond over in England. He says, so many goalposts moved on Purdy. In fact, they moved it so much they made the Bills miss wide right. Ouch. I felt really bad for Bills fans last night. Like, I mean, honestly, literally, I was just thinking if he could have just missed to the left, I'm sure they would have all felt a lot better about it. I think that fake punt was a mistake. In hindsight, I mean, I could see at the time, I could kind of see why. It didn't seem like anybody was going to stop anybody at that point. And then all of a sudden, they both got stops after. So like, oh, maybe you didn't need to fake that punt. But, 2020 hindsight.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Josh Allen's still a hell of a quarterback. I've defended him all season. I said he was elite all season. He is my number 2 quarterback all season, still is. He just does so much and is asked to do so much. They did finally start running the ball some. But, it's just like their team was so banged up.
Yeah.
And then they had some huge drops. They had like 3 or 4 huge drops on huge plays, including Trent Sherfield and, of course, Stephon Diggs. I think Sherfield twice. So that really hurts you a lot too when you convert on those big plays. Bills Mafia, sorry for all them, especially just to lose to the Chiefs again and again and again. It must be what the Packers feel like losing us over and over and over again. Really, I mean, there's some parallels there. Except for it's been all Mahomes and Josh Allen. Most of the Green Bay Packers were Aaron Rodgers losing to us. but hopefully we start out on the right foot against Jordan Love. We'll see. He's a hell of a quarterback, though. What are your thoughts on Jordan Love?
Yeah, I think he is. Everyone underrates him. I was really big on him coming out of college. Kind of wanted the Lions to pick him up, to be honest with you. I mean, I can't say I don't watch a ton of Packers games myself. I don't tune into as many other teams' games as I should, but seeing him, he shredded us on Thanksgiving, so that's what I can say about him.
But that was before C.J. Gardner-Johnson came back, right?
That's true. Yeah, he went out in week 2, game I was at this year. Finally came back. Last week was his first game back. So, yeah, no, big addition coming back to the secondary because we have been struggling there.
There you go. James Renal says, who's this dude? He's too fluffy to be Pedro. Pedro is my 2 o'clock host, or like 5 o'clock Eastern.
Okay.
Host that I'll be going on with right after we conclude.
Awesome.
We do a show called I Voted for Pedro show. So and the Ted is capitalized in the voted part. So a little riff on Napoleon Dynamite. You're young enough, I'm sure, to
No, I love that movie.
Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah. So some of my old fart friends don't get it, but that's fine too. But yeah, James, this is devoted to Detroit. He's a Detroit Lions fan and content creator. Basically, I had a Goody on last week, and she is a Packers content creator. And I asked all the neutral content creators I knew last night, like, hey, who are some good Lions content creators you know? So Goody said, talk to Devoted to Detroit. So here we are. Next day, I'm glad we were able to get it going so quickly. And thanks for coming on, Devoted. I hope you have a good time. What I tell people when I send out is like, hey, I've done a ton of these things, and almost everyone I've had on is either come back or is willing to come back on. I think that speaks to the way I treat people when they're here.
Yeah, for sure.
I try not to be too much of a homer, or like, it's not like my timeline's full of gotchas and like I'm setting people up and I'm coming back after and being like, oh, update, blah, 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 and being rude and snarky and petty. But I tend to be a lot different on the shows.
Yeah.
Because, the timeline it's so toxic. It's just that fits out there. And in here, I like to be very fair and balanced because I feel like it's more realistic. I mean, I respect the heck out of the Lions. I respected the Packers. I said before the playoffs, my 2 teams I was worried most about in the playoffs were the Rams and the Packers, and you guys knocked the Rams off. So, and I was kind of forgetting about C.J. Gardner-Johnson being back, honestly, because like I gave the Eagles a lot of grief for losing him, for losing all their linebackers, and for losing Hargrave, especially losing him to us. That was a huge, swing of power in the NFC. And so I said when he went down with, it was his pec or his bicep early in the season.
Pectoral.
Yeah, and I was like, then if the Lions get him back, that'll be huge at the end of the season. And here we are. So what else? James is saying, please tell me it's not raining next week. For the love of God, of the little cloud coverage. Yeah, I made a tweet last night after the game, and don't take this the wrong way, Devoted, but I said basically like more than this before the game, before I guess it was Sunday before your guys' game. I said, or maybe late Saturday night after our game, I said, more than is it the Bucs or is it the Lions? The thing I'm worried the most about for next weekend is will it be raining? Yeah, and that's because I've been really big all season ever since we lost to the Browns about saying that I think Brock Purdy is a fair weather quarterback. He just doesn't handle rain-soaked footballs very well.
Even going back to last year, the Bears game, I watched that one, and that one down.
Well, that was Trey Lance.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah,
that was Trey Lance.
My bad.
And he struggled in the rain too. Trey Lance actually has slightly smaller hands than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has 9 1/4 inch hands. Okay. Trey Lance has 9 1/8 inch hands. Okay. But interesting enough, like Mahomes has 9 1/4 inch hands. It doesn't seem to bother him. In another data point from last weekend was Jordan Love has 10 1/2 inch hands. And so I was pretty sure the rain wouldn't affect him as much as it did Brock Purdy, and seemed to be the case, at least in the first half anyway. Yeah. So James, the weather forecast for this weekend, and I'll include Saturday and Monday too, because this is what happened last week. Was like there were times last week where it said no rain Saturday, but it said rain on Friday, it said rain on Sunday, and I was like, oh well, if the Friday rain is late or the Sunday rain is early, it could end up raining Saturday. It sure did. But right now, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I mean, it looks like there's some rain on Wednesday and then nothing to next Wednesday. So that could change. It can always change. But as of right now, it looks like it should be clear, which is decidedly good news for the 49ers. I don't know how Goff does with a wet football, but I don't think he has particularly large hands either. I want to say he has 9.5-inch hands too.
He's closer to the 9-inch, I think. He's got one of the smallest hands in the league. But we haven't had many wet weather games this week or this season. We've only had a handful of them outside.
And playing in the dome, that
was
pretty classic when that reporter asked Todd Bowles what he thought about what Detroit was going to be like, or if it was going to affect the game. Woo, boy,
he handled that pretty well.
I imagine she not going anywhere fast with that career. We got John LaJoy in the house. He says, "Hi Ted, let's go 49ers." Hi John, welcome. Edgar Ascoli in the house. He says hello. Ted Bang Moment Brothers. All right. Not sure if that came out right. Jimmy Perez is in the house too. What's up, Jimmy? Thanks for joining. Everybody's just saying hi. So I'm not going to show all those because we're just only on one channel, so everybody can see everything. Shell said, "I think it's safe to watch this game from the ER." Safe than sorry. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, for sure.
The Lions are a really solid team. Goff is an underrated quarterback. He's also improved. His confidence seems to have gone up since the Rams game, if not before then. They have a great offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in football. They have great weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta. Reynolds has been really big in the playoffs, who Goff knew from the Rams. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the best, most explosive running backs in the NFL right now. Who am I forgetting? It seems like there's more.
Laporta is up there.
I was going to say also Khalif Raymond, but it looks like, is he injured?
Raymond, he 2 games ago.
Okay.
Vikings game, I think he injured his knee, if I'm not mistaken.
You know who I forgot? J-Mo.
Jameson
Williams. Yeah, he's a speedy receiver out of Bama. He had like a Achilles or ACL coming out of college.
Yeah, he ACL, I believe, out of college, and then he's been dealing with Achilles, and he's had some hip injuries throughout the season, but he's healthy now, and we appreciate having him. So
there you go. Rick Diaz echoing my sentiment, and it's going to be a good game Sunday. 49ers versus the Lions. Yeah, Lions are good. And then on defense, they've got real solid players at each level. I would say, especially Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive line has just been a monster lately. Aleem McNeil has been a monster all year. I guess he lost some weight in the offseason, and it's really helped him with his pass rush. He was always a good run defender. And then the linebackers are solid, but they do have the one first-round draft pick, Jack Campbell, in there as well. And then in the secondary, I already mentioned C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's not one of my favorite players back from when he used to be a Saint. But and then especially also as an Eagle last year. But
I can't lie, I didn't like him before he was here in Detroit. So
he's kind of a little bit dirty, a little bit of a talker. He's the one who kind of like a Draymond Green or I forget who's the other one I'm trying to think of from the NFL, who Pat Bev, the type who like talks the trash and gets your guys all. You love him if he's on your team, and if you're on any other team, you just hate the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just a trash talker. Although Draymond has kind of gone into his whole own thing now, and he's for a long time been my favorite player. But I honestly think it's gotten to be too much lately for me. I'm kind of having to bow out, at least until further notice.
Yeah.
He's no longer my favorite player. It's just too much with the stuff this season.
Mhm.
But let's not get too much into basketball here. Yeah, young and good team. Yeah, they obviously had a great draft here in 2023. The Lions did. I've got a bookmark with it because it's like being talked about out in the press as well too. But obviously, the first pick, like 12th overall, was Jahmyr Gibbs. Was that right?
Yep. Traded back from number 8 overall, or number 6 overall, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, traded back from 6, picked up 12 and 35.
And then 35 was then Laporta, who's not just one of the best young tight ends in the league, but just one of the best tight ends in the league, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
I think he's top 5 already.
Mhm.
But as a Detroit fan, do you and don't feel bad like if you know about being a homer or whatever, but where do you rank him? Do you have him higher than top 5?
Laporta,
top 3?
it's tough to not put him in the top 2. I think Kelsey's out of the top 3 right now. I would probably put, man,
except for what did he do last night though? He had 2
Yeah,
TDs last night.
he was on my fantasy team this year. He's my first round pick and disappointed me all season. So
I mean, honestly, I've been saying Kittle's better than him for a long time, but I just said Kittle just needs a real QB, and not to be in a run first scheme where where he just doesn't get as many targets as from an inferior QB from behind a pass blocking line that is built to run block, right?
Yeah.
No, so I always said if Kittle was on the Chiefs, he would do everything Kelsey does plus block and yak. But I don't know.
No, I do
you think top 2? So you think it's
I would
Laporta
say
and Kittle?
I think Kittle's probably up there number 1. I'd go Kittle, Laporta. I'd probably go Mark Andrews 3, and you could put Kelsey at 4 or 5, and I like Evan Engram quite a bit too. He's a stud. Jacksonville.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, he's really come on since he left the Giants. Maybe kind of the same thing I was talking about, right? Like some of these guys, it's really hard to evaluate weapons when they've never had a really good quarterback, or they've had really bad quarterbacks and bad offensive line play. And then with the Niners, there's that additional thing of like we run it more than most any other team in the NFL. Whereas like the Chiefs pass it more than most any other team in the NFL. So it's really hard to evaluate apples to apples when so many of the variables are so vastly different.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see here. So I was just looking for. So we're just going through it, right? So we got Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. And then the linebacker was in like the mid to late teens. 18,
18. Like Jack Campbell out of Iowa.
There you go.
So he had a slower start this season, but he past couple games he started to pick it up, and he's kind of flying all over the field now. Aaron Glenn, our defensive coordinator, has been bringing him on pass rush quite a bit. He's got the size for it, but out of college he didn't do that very much, and I don't get why he keeps bringing him off the edge. But
there you go. And then obviously we said Laporta was pick 34. And then Brian Branch, your guys' nickel corner, was pick 45. So what a crazy draft class for the 2023. It feels like, everybody got on the Lions because they didn't take Jalen Carter, right? Wasn't he was available there?
Yeah, he was there. He was there at 6, and we traded back,
And then, you took a linebacker instead of all the receivers that went, including like Zay Flowers for the Ravens. And who was the first one was the one who went to the Seahawks. Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN. Yeah. And then they took Laporta at 34. He was the first tight end taken. And a lot of people thought Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame might have been the better tight end. He might be someday, who knows? But as of right now, it's not even close. Laporta just easily the best rookie tight end, and like we said, maybe top 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it just depends on how you rank them and whatnot. But I could see your argument I would probably still put Kelsey a little bit ahead just because, like I said, what he did in the playoffs yesterday against the Bills, but and just because he has so much less help, right? I mean, he's the guy in KC, and like I think Amon-Ra is the guy for the Lions, and Laporte is maybe number 2 on the hit list, and maybe Gibbs even might be up there. I think they're both like 2A, 2B, Laporte and Jahmyr Gibbs. But correct me anytime if you think I'm wrong. I just
I will say that he's been Goff's been going to his former teammate Josh Reynolds quite a bit lately.
Yeah. And the Rams game for sure, like they were tearing it up, and then there was quite a bit in the Bucks game. Then Reynolds left the game, and then he came back. Did he do much after he came back? I'm trying to remember. I didn't actually watch the very end of the game either. So I turned it. I was trying to catch up, and I was already falling behind on the Bills and Chiefs. And like when you guys got up by 14 there towards the end, I like 7 minutes. I'm like that's it. It's a wrap. Yeah. But I guess it sounds like they got to within one score. Yeah. And then Baker threw a pick, so technically they were in it at the end. Huh?
Yeah. So he didn't have too much after the first quarter there. Looks like he had 3 targets and only 27 yards. But the Rams game, he had 80 yards. You go back to Minnesota game, he had 44 yards. He's been one of Jared Goff's favorites,
So James says more scared about the weather than the team. Sorry, Detroit.
7 against the Vikings.
Oh, there you go. James was saying the same thing I said Saturday night. But honestly, that was more of a tweet. It's not something I would say on the show. That was more like toxic, incendiary, trying to get reaction more than like, honestly, I respect Detroit. And I think we deserve to be favored. But I do also think that it's interesting to note, or like, I would probably agree that 7 points was too much. And we're down to 6.5 is what I heard. Let me just double check.
Yeah, I was thinking it should have been closer to the 4.5 is what I was thinking, but
so 3 plus 1.5. 3 for Levi's plus 1.5. By the way, did you know that the 49ers have never lost a playoff game at Levi's?
I did not know that.
And it's just 5-0. It's not like a huge record, right? Because Levi's didn't start till 2013, and we've only played 4 home games there prior to the Packers, so that made 5.
Okay.
But it's still 5-0. And then someone from the Lions said, "Well, Ted, we've never lost a home game at Ford Field." So of course, I bookmarked that in case you guys lost to the Bucks. I was, of course, going to go back and pull a receipt there. But you guys did. So same thing for the Lions. The Lions are 2-0 at Ford Field. Bad news is you guys aren't playing at Ford Field. The Niners managed to get the home field advantage here throughout the playoffs. Let's see here. So it says, it's all right. So it's back to -7. So I guess it's opened at -7, dropped to -6.5, at least according to the Barrier Radio. Maybe they were looking at a different, I'm not 100% on this. I just know it's negative, or we're favored by 7 now. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's where it opened. So anyway, bottom line is, I think that's a little much too. I think 6 or 5, like you said, 4.5. Yeah, I think all those make more sense to me. Yeah. I'm not saying take Detroit in the points just yet because it's too early in the week. I need to see what's happening with Debo, honestly, before I give any serious betting advice.
For sure. His shoulder again, right?
Yeah, his shoulder again that bothered him. It's bothered him a few times. If it's the same, it's definitely the same one that bothered him in Cleveland earlier this season, and he missed 2-3 games after that. All the games we lost essentially this season, other than the Ravens. And then he also injured his shoulder in 2019 against the Cardinals, and I'm not sure if it's the same shoulder or not.
Yeah. I was listening to I think Michael Irvin said he texted him earlier. I don't know if it was today or last night. Had to have been today. He said that it wasn't close to as bad as it was before. He had to miss.
That's good. Yeah, that's what everybody's kind of saying. But knowing Kyle, he's not going to let us know till the very last second. He's going to try and make you guys game plan for both eventualities. And so therefore, your Debo plan won't be as practiced as it could be, and your without Debo game plan won't be as practiced as it could be. That's just the way Kyle is. Rick says Green Bay Packers are young, but they're a good team too. They are a very good team. Jordan Love is a very good quarterback, especially to do what he did with the weapons he had there that are almost all rookies and second-year players. It's amazing. I just think it showed up a little bit in the red zone where they would drive the field and then they couldn't really punch it in because they didn't have the guys that were super experienced on what to do on that section of the field against pro defenses. But hell of a team. Hats off to the Green Bay Packers. Sure. I had a feeling it was going to be a close game. I just didn't think it was going to be that close. I didn't think the Niners would come up. I thought we'd be more ahead, and they would come back from behind to almost bridge the gap towards the end. I didn't think we'd be coming from behind. But it is interesting that the Niners finally came from behind because I told the Packers, like, hey, if it's a back-and-forth game, I like the Packers. Niners are a front-running team. We like to get a lead and then make people play from behind, make people pass, not run the ball against us. That's probably the reason why our run defense was good because there just weren't a lot of run attempts against us. And we saw that where Aaron Jones broke 100 yards against us. He's a hell of a back. And Jahmyr Gibbs is right there in that same category, just below CMC. But some Detroit fans are saying that he's Jahmyr Gibbs is top 2 and not second. What's your opinion on Jahmyr Gibbs?
I tweeted yesterday. Yeah, I tweeted yesterday. I was replying to a tweet asking where he should be ranked, and I said he should be behind CMC, but no one else.
There you go.
He's number 2 right now.
I mean, I would have him there with Aaron Jones as that next tier. I would have had like Dalvin Cook there not too long ago, but he's obviously fallen off a lot. But it's interesting that he's a Raven, so he might get a chance to revive himself a little bit against the Chiefs and one of our teams in the Super Bowl potentially too. We'll see. News on Debo. Yeah, there hasn't been a lot. Just that so far, just that it's not too serious is what we're hearing. So we'll see. Yeah. No, the Lions fans are not like Eagles. No one is like Eagles fans. Let's be honest. These are the Eagles are the nastiest fans in the NFL. I did see like some Rams fans complaining about Lions fans last week. But Rams fans are. I don't hate them because we just kind of own the Rams. So, but they are annoying. And they did win the Super Bowl. They did beat us in the NFC Championship to win the Super Bowl. So they like to lord that over us that we haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time. So just like you guys have never won one, they lorded over us. That it's been 29 years or however long. One thing I will say that was a little annoying about Lions fans. Last week they were starting to pop into my mentions about like, hey, we're gonna beat you guys in the NFC Championship game. Like, dude, go beat the Bucks first. Like, I picked the Lions to beat the Bucks, so I thought you guys would. I just, not strongly enough that I'd say no chance for the Bucks. I felt like the Bucks were playing well, and I thought they could upset you. I just, like I said, wouldn't bet on it.
That's kind of been
straight up, right? Not money line. So
we've been we're accustomed to playing hot teams. The Broncos were 6-1 over the past 7 when we played them, and we whooped them. And the Packers have been hot. We ended up losing to them on Thanksgiving, but the Bucks have been hot, and the Rams were one of the hottest teams in the NFL coming in the playoffs. So we'll see.
There you go. Carcast is in the house. He has his own channel, so everybody make sure you check him out. He says, so St. Brown travels, Ward doesn't. Thoughts? Well, St. Brown has to travel, and Ward doesn't have to travel. He's playing at home. Ward played pretty well, I thought, on Saturday night. He definitely had a huge pass breakup in the end zone, if I recall. That I was like, please don't be DPI, But definitely Diamador Lenore, our other corner, is the one who's just been crazy last year's playoffs and this year's playoffs. He is just a playoffs corner. I mean, everybody in our secondary is really good. I like Gibson a lot. I like Lenore. I like Charvarius Ward, Mooney Ward, however you want to call him. He likes Mooney. Except for like Ambry Thomas, who just got abused repeatedly against Green Bay. And Logan Ryan, he's a journeyman. I think we're playing him because we're a little bit unsure about Jair Brown as a rookie.
Mm.
in this pressure situation. But honestly, I think I'd rather have Jair Brown in there than Logan Ryan. I just don't think he's that good. But those are the two weak links for us in our secondary. Our linebackers are obviously Nails, Fred with the coverage and not making mistakes, and then Dre with the interceptions.
Yeah.
He's been incredible. He had 2 obviously against the Packers. He's had a lot in the last few seasons, and he's also a thumper. He's like a real enforcer. But our D line is really overrated. Bosa got the huge contract, but he held out to get it. He hasn't been the same all year. Hargrave is, real good pass rusher, but not very good against the run. Armstead, really good against the run, but not much of a pass rusher. And Chase Young, just pretty overrated in general. The one play where I saw him really show up against the Packers, though, was that tush push for, the QB sneak. He stopped Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And so I got to give him at least a little credit for that because I've been saying that he's overrated and I still think he is in general, but at least, keep doing stuff like that, Chase. I'd like to see more for sure. Got Daniel Berry Sports Highlights in the house saying, yo, he's a Rams fan. So be sure you check out his channel too. See, Rick's been busy here. Let's see. Interesting. So I guess Rick predicted this about the Lions. He's saying, says the Bears are boring. Yeah, Bears are. They still got some work to do. I think the Lions are a year ahead of schedule. I see them in the Super Bowl next year against the Ravens. Interesting. Wow.
We will see.
Why are you guys so nice and sweet? Detroit, France. I don't understand. You guys are nice. They're not all nice. Don't worry. But devoted to Detroit here is a nice guy, no doubt about it. And I'm pretty nice, at least on my shows. So,
yeah, no, I think this will be a good matchup for sure. I feel like our offenses are pretty much the same. They like to play from ahead and run the ball and pound it. They play a good physical game, and I would definitely say the Niners defense is better than the Lions.
Yeah.
I think I see the Niners defense is 3rd in the league and the Lions is like 23rd.
But again, that's all without CJ Gardner-Johnson there.
That's true.
And Aiden Hutchinson has really come on of late.
Yeah.
I think so is that first round draft pick linebacker of yours.
Yeah.
And you guys were adjusting to Emmanuel Mosley being out.
Yeah, I forgot he came from San Francisco, didn't he?
He did, and he's a good corner. Just too bad he's had back-to-back ACLs on the same knee. That can be
that's rough.
Brutal. Just ask OBJ. So Rick's saying he's got a lot of friends: Detroit, Flint, Saginaw, Michigan Bay City, Michigan Kalamazoo. Bunch of friends. Nice. Where are you coming to us from?
Yeah, I'm from the west side of Michigan. So I'm about 2 hours from Detroit. I try to make it over there as much as I can. I'm in the Grand Rapids area.
Oh, very nice. All right. Interesting, Rick's.
Yeah, we were talking about Hutchinson, and he seems to be the only one on the line who can make any pressure. I see we have James Houston, who will likely be back this week, but yeah, he's the Niners can eliminate him. I think they'll be pretty good.
Yeah, Red Jet says that Lions fans are the nicest. It's from 2011, so maybe a different group of folks, but nonetheless, all class is what she said. Oh, I see. So they're saying that Amon-Ra St. Brown travels within the formation, but Mooney Ward doesn't. I don't know if Mooney Ward. I tend to think, Carcass, that Mooney Ward might travel more with Wilkes than he did. The not travel stuff was from D'Amico, and then prior to D'Amico, Robert Saleh played slightly different systems. It is still the same system, but Wilkes has tweaked it. So I'd say there's more chance of Mooney Ward traveling with Amon-Ra now than any of the years before. So we'll see. That'll be interesting to see. But good point. Didn't mean traveling to their stadium. Got it. Yeah. Hypertension the whole game. Didn't believe I was watching on the last drive. Yeah, no, it was brutal for anyone with high blood pressure. It went up a few ticks during that game, no doubt about it. And somehow we pulled it out. Well, mostly defense, right? I mean, really, and a little bit of a good drive at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've been waiting to see from Purdy. A lot of people who have been hesitant to say that Purdy is elite has said that they wanted to see more game-winning drives, myself included. I'm still not calling Brock Purdy elite. I've said that he has had some elite stretches of play, but not long enough, and not not enough games in a row, and not enough of a stretch of time of doing it to say that he's an elite quarterback yet. But I get closer and closer all the time. Not being able to play in the rain is really an issue for me, but nonetheless, if he can, torch the Lions, or at least get back to what he's looked like before against the Lions and in the Super Bowl, which is dome, obviously, that'll help him a lot. But playing at an outdoor stadium, it's tough not being able to play in the rain. We don't get a ton in Northern California, but when we do, it usually rains pretty hard. So, let's see here. There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of people, and then Kyle really hasn't had any come from behind wins either.
Oh yeah,
and now like Keyshawn Johnson is like, oh well, it was only 7 points. Like we meant come back from like 14 points down. It's like, okay, Keyshawn, give me a damn break.
Yeah,
that's what I'd say to him. So give me the damn ball.
No, I will say the Lions haven't had many come from behind wins either. The only one I can think of would be the Chargers game where it was so back and forth. It was a shootout. I think it was like 45-42 final score.
Wow.
Like that, but
well, I mean, there's something to be said for, leading the whole ball game, right? And not needing to come from behind very often. But in the playoffs, it seems like it seems to happen more often than in regular season. So
yeah. So far the Lions haven't been losing at all in the playoffs so far. They've held the lead or been tied the entire time. But I got a feeling it's going to change this week.
There you go. Carcast says, in my opinion, Josh Reynolds is their version of Juwan Jennings, the height, size, wingspan, etc. So Juwan Jennings for us, he's 6'3", 215. He's an insane blocker. I feel like Josh Reynolds is more of a receiving threat than Juwan is. I mean, we call him third and Juwan because a lot of times he'll come up with big third down plays because like everybody's busy, guarding, Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and CMC. All of a sudden you like forget about Juwan Jennings and there he is wide open.
Yeah.
He has had issues with kind of butterfingers in the past. But like this season, our drop rate dropped precipitously. Probably partially because Brock Purdy throws a very catchable ball. Probably some because of what I said, that we haven't had a rain game since the Cleveland Browns. It makes it obviously a lot easier to catch when the ball's dry. I think those are a combination of things that have helped us. Maybe they've actually just improved too. That's very possible.
Yeah.
But after a few years, you kind of think it's probably not going to have a huge jump. Or huge drop in drops in this case, just from like improvement, but who knows? So this was a grimy game. Fred said we needed to be able to win. Yeah. This was the game Brock and Kyle needed to prove they could come behind in the fourth and win the game. Yep. All that stuff. No doubt about it. We got interesting question from the street. Is Schmegma vegan? We'll just leave that one alone. I don't have an easy answer for that one. And if you don't know what it is, I'm sorry I can't help you on the show. But you got a good laugh out of me from the street at the very least. The Sentinels football channel agreed. Yeah. As I said before, this is the game that's needed to prove many points, but also the game. Yeah, I know. I mean, I was bummed to sort of have it confirmed that Brock needed a dry football to succeed, but I'm even more encouraged that he will once it is dry again. I mean, the thing that really iced it for me was he came out early in the game on Saturday, and he was wearing a glove. And I was like, wow, we've been talking about this. Like, does he need to wear a glove? And I think he threw one of the near interceptions where he threw it right to the DB with the glove. Because I think here's the deal: the glove helps you grip the ball, but then I think you have trouble ungripping the ball. Like when you're throwing, I think
you lose a little touch.
Yeah, you can kind of like hook it because it doesn't come off your fingertips the same way, and it can affect accuracy that way. So it's like, yeah, he threw a nice spiral, but boy, it was right in the breadbasket of the defender. Because he ended up taking it off pretty quickly thereafter. Also, the rain slowed down a lot again. I mean, everybody who's like, oh, Brock had the winning drive at the end of the game. Like, keep in mind, folks, like it really did dry out quite a bit by the end of the game too. So there's
you
definitely
guys, you thinking if Debo's out, does that change your pick of the game or?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, if I'm saying I think 6 or 5, I would say closer to a draw, though. I would say, or closer to very fewer, lower points.
Yeah, for sure.
Like let's say I said I was at 6 or 5 without Debo, then I'd be at like 3 or 2.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I would definitely shave some points. Yeah, he's very important. But the other thing too is the worst way to not have Debo is when he gets injured in game. If we practice all week without him, then we're in much better shape than when every play, like when they gave that run to Juwan Jennings, like that was supposed to be Debo running that jet sweep.
Yeah.
And it obviously looked a lot different with Juwan running it. So that's the thing about Debo being out is like, now that we're prepared, it won't hurt nearly as bad as it does when you had 2 weeks to prepare and everything was with Debo in there. It's really hard to change on the fly, especially for Kyle. He had real trouble in Cleveland when it happened, when Debo and Trent and CMC all went down. There was a lot of similarities between those two games. In fact, Drea Blackwell, who's a Bay Area reporter from sort of like the Watsonville, Carmel, Monterey area, had quoted something about like, oh, this seems sort of like the Cleveland game. And I said, boy, it's a lot like the Cleveland game in that, Debo got hurt in the Cleveland game. He got hurt early against the Packers, and it was raining. Moody missed at least one field goal in both games. Granted, one was blocked against Green Bay. He didn't actually miss, or well, I don't know. I consider a block different than a miss, but on the box score, it goes down as a miss. And the big difference was Trent Williams didn't get injured against the Packers, and CMC didn't get injured either. And so those were the big differences. But otherwise, there were some parallels between those two games. And we obviously won the Packer game, and we lost against Cleveland. Cleveland also has a much better defense than the Packers too. So. Red Jet saying, "Dear Dre Greenlaw, you shouldn't on Sunday. Just favor him fall down, break an ankle. LOL. Just go down." Oh man, yeah. I mean, I was screaming, "Go down, get down," because he was. It was looking like they were going to strip him, and that would have just been terrible. But he finally eventually did, and yeah, there's a time for like personal glory, and there's a time to like ice the game, and that was time to ice the game. if the game's in a different stage, I get where you're trying to get yards and help the team. It's a little harder to make that, but I kind of feel like that anytime a defender gets a turnover, just unless you got a clear path, get down with it. Get down with it. Don't risk it. You're not trained to carry a ball, and you're about 10 times more likely to get stripped than an offensive player who's used to going through drills of people knocking the ball out and holding on to the ball properly. Unless you're Jalen Hurts, and then he tends to fumble a lot, even when he's not stripped. Still had to get a dig in on the Eagles. Hate those guys.
I have a question from you from some of my followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
A lot of them are asking, what is the 49ers' biggest weakness?
Yeah. So I was saying earlier, Ambry Thomas Logan Ryan or Jair Brown at safety. You know, your O-line against our D-line, I think, is a little bit of trouble. I usually would say right guard, but because of Burford. But, you know, in my article last week, I said, please play Feliciano and not Burford, and they listened. So
nice.
I was pretty happy about that. Yeah, Feliciano's better than Burford. Burford, you know, he's young. He's probably going to improve. And I get like the whole thing of wanting to like, you know, help him get his man strength and then evaluate him. But like now's not the time for worrying about developing a player. Now's the time to, you know, you got to win to advance. And a close game like Saturday night, that could have been the whole difference.
Yeah, for sure.
If we had Burford in there. But McKivitz at right tackle is still a weak spot. So if you're lining up Aiden Hutchinson over there, I'd say that's a huge advantage. Lions.
Yeah, I see Purdy is one of the best under pressure, isn't he? One of the best in the league.
Yeah. Purdy, Purdy and Love both were extremely great under blitz and under pressure. They were. That was in my article from last week. They're both incredible. Like one was 1-3, the other was like 2-3 in the league. Purdy's very good under pressure. He's very quick. I said all off season, basically, like I really love his decision making. I think he's a mental giant. I just said I wish that he had an elite physical trait other than quickness. So he's really quick, but he's not real fast. So he can ditch your guys for a step or two, but if he keeps running for long, your guys will catch him from behind.
Yeah, I've always thought he's had pretty underrated mobility in the pocket. He seems to just shake some sacks that, you know, a lot of quarterbacks like Jared Goff can't. But
yeah, no doubt about it. And here's the thing about Purdy, like what we love about him is his poise and his ability to like keep his head downfield and not get flustered by pressure. But at the same time, that's a weakness because something that scares the hell out of you because it even happened against the Packers where somebody came in free off the right edge. Same way that Hassan Reddick did in the NFC Championship game last year where he tore his UCL. We saw it in the Steelers game in the home opener. We saw it. It was not Purdy, but Mullins in Dallas where DeMarcus Lawrence came off the right edge and tore his UCL. So part of it is scheme, but part of it is the quarterback. But, you know, it's like I said, it's like we love his poise and he's unflappable, but at the same time, he can also ignore pass rush to his detriment where he can end up getting injured because of it or, you know, strip sacked or whatever, you know, the case may be. So I would say that's a weakness. But yeah, I mean, like people say we're a pick your poison offense. I totally agree with that. It's just when you're dealing with a poisonous snake, what do? You cut the head off. So pressuring, even though he's good under pressure, you got to pressure him to get sacks and to get QB hits and things like that. So I would say that's going to be your best bet for sure. Real quick, we got Bash in the house, 49er Minded. We do a Friday show called Ballin' with Bash and Ted. Fridays at 3 in the house. What's up, Bashar? How you doing? Good to see you. Hope all's well. See here. There was. I think we played this one already. Yeah. Okay. Steven's back. Thanks for coming back, Steven. Good to have you. Oh yeah, we saw this already. All right, here we go. What are your thoughts on Rahman St. Brown's childhood history? His dad was a heavyweight champion, I believe. A lot of powerlifting. St. Brown legs are super strong. They talked about that in the last game when he was dragging somebody. Was it? No, that was different game I was watching. I just remember Chris Jones getting dragged by one of the Buffalo Bills players, but this is someone different. But anyway, give us your thoughts on that about Amon-Ra.
He's another. I feel like he's very similar to C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the sense that everyone who's a fan of his team loves him, and everyone who's not a fan of his team hates him. I get that a lot from other teams' fans. I guess. What do you guys think of him, or what do you think of him?
I think he's killing it. I think he's running good routes. He's getting lots of yak. He's
Mhm.
a lot like Debo.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
they're very similar, him and Debo. They line Debo up in the backfield quite a bit. Amon-Ra, they've put him back there a couple times, but they don't often go to him from back there.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I mean, he's not as much of a running back as Debo,
mhm.
but Debo's not as much of a wide receiver as Amon-Ra. So, I mean, I just lament that we took, it must have been Trey Sermon. We moved up into the third round and took Trey Sermon instead. And between there and where our picks were, Amon-Ra. No, Amon-Ra went after. And I was like, oh, man, or we could have taken Amon-Ra from where we took Trey Sermon.
Mhm.
And it just kills me because the Packers are saying, oh, we have trouble with third round draft picks. And I'm like, dude, we've blown every third round draft pick not named Fred.
Man, we have had, before this year, we've had some problems with our second round draft picks. Man,
interesting.
So, I mean, this year the curse is broken. Brian Branch and Sam Laporta, but last year Josh Pascal hasn't really played all too much for us. The year before that, we've had Levi Onwuzurike, dealt with lots of injuries, and then DeAndre Swift, who's no longer on the team the year before that. So it's a second round for us.
There you go. JCK 510 wants to know, how's the Lions play calling when playing from behind?
Yeah, they're so Ben Johnson, our offensive coordinator, he goes through stretches. I love him, and then sometimes the offense is just so stale it goes cold. But playing from behind, we haven't played from behind all too much this year. The one I can think of right now off the top of my head would be if you can think of the Bears game, end of November, we were down 12 minutes with down 12 points with 3 minutes left. Came back and, I mean, offense drove down the field and punched it in, and then the defense held them and ended up stripping Justin Fields, and then we were able to score again, all in under 2 minutes. So it was, I mean, they can do it. They can hang with anybody. I think of the Chargers as well. We put up 45 points, and that was a pretty back and forth game. They obviously like to play from ahead and run the ball and run the clock out. But
did the Lions add Zach Ertz?
They did. So our tight end 2, Brock Wright, just came back this past week. And
he got injured.
He got injured again. So, yeah, no, he signed this morning. I think I saw around midday, Zach Ertz.
That's big.
I don't think he'll
not much of a blocker, but he's still a good receiver. So
yeah, for sure. He'll I like having him in the same room as Laporta, though, having a legend in there.
Absolutely. How about special teams? How's your kicker? How's your punter?
So Jack Fox, our punter, is probably I think he's the best in the league. Seems like he's been on a tear the past 2 weeks. Whenever we had to punt it, he pins them deep within the 5-10 yard line. Not many that bounce into the end zone. We always call everyone talks about how Dan Campbell always calls the fake punts and trick plays, and he does like to do it, but he does it at the right time. There were a couple times this week I thought he'd go for a fake punt, and he didn't. But no, he's always got that up his sleeve. As far as our kicking situation goes, it's Michael Badgley, and he makes us a little nervous. Our kicking situation's something that needs to be addressed this offseason for sure. But he did hit a ice cold 54-yarder to go up, the go-ahead kick in the Rams game.
There you go. Well, for us, Wisnowski is a great punter. I think one of the best, same way. Not a lot of big gross yard punts, but he kicks it really high. And so they're really great net yard punts. I think he led the league in net yardage.
Okay.
And then, great inside the 5 or 10. He kicks a ball where it spins flat like a helicopter or a turntable. and guys just have real trouble fielding it inside the 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting. And then our place kicker, you probably know Jake Moody from Michigan.
Yep.
He started out the season perfect, had some struggles against the Browns and Vikings and went perfect again. Had some struggles at the end against the Rams. But even in the perfect sections, they didn't look good. So they weren't confidence inspiring. And in the second perfect section, We punted a few times where he's got a big leg. We could have kicked some 55, 60 plus yarders and didn't even attempt them.
Yeah.
So, and then he had the block kick, obviously, against the Packers. He drilled the 52 yarder. So thank goodness for that. It gives us hope, but we're far from, somebody said another meaning for Moody is unreliable, it's not unreliable, but something similar to that.
Yeah.
Like,
no, we loved him.
Don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I'm
a Michigan fan, so I was hoping the Lions would address the kicking situation with this, with selecting him, but they didn't get the chance to. Got him third round.
I think you're glad, at least for now. I mean, we'll see long term. Someone told me that kickers are like reverse running backs, and I was like, huh? And he said, yeah, is it Brian Peacock? And he said, yeah, Ted, think of all the greatest kickers you've ever known. They're all in their like mid to late 30s. And think about running backs. They're lucky if they even get a contract in their 30s. And
that's true.
It's kind of true. Yeah. So we need to wrap it up here because I got my next show. I voted for Pedro coming on here. We're supposed to be on a minute ago, but I told him I'd be a couple minutes late. But like, obviously we can't root for each other's teams to win, but I think we can root for like, a good game, no injuries, and,
for sure.
and no refs screwing it up with bad calls, ideally. Yeah, obviously
Blakeman coming in, so we'll see.
Oh geez, that's not a great sign. Well, bottom line is best of luck. And if you guys do make it, then congrats to going to your first ever Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And for us, it's like, even if we go, like, we got to win the Super Bowl too, or else we're just like, I'd almost rather not even go after losing the last two to the Ravens and the Chiefs. But the good news is, if we go, we got revenge on one of those two teams. So our chance at revenge, I should say.
Yeah.
So anyway, it'll be interesting. But thanks a lot for coming on. I'll say peace and go Niners. You want to give us one pride, or what do you guys say?
Yeah, we're all grit right now. So I got my grit shirt on.
There you go.
So all grit. One pride. There you go.
Right on. Everybody, make sure you check out Devoted to Detroit. That's at Devoted, the number 2 DET. And thanks everybody for showing up today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.